Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and welcome to The Inner Voice Show. This is a show about you, making a difference in your life, so you can create a free mind and create a heart filled with love toward creating a fulfilled life. I'll bring you the latest research in the realm of human sciences, and we'll talk to experts in their field to bring you the jewel of their knowledge and wisdom. Let me tell you a little bit about my latest book, Life Reset, The Awareness Integration Path to Creating a Life You Want. The Awareness Integration Model is a model that I created based on the best of the models that have been out there, the different theories that have been out there, and put it in a module. We've done a lot of research on it. I call it as bringing depth into brief therapy, and it works on present, moment, future, and the past, and cleaning the past and creating a space so you can go into the future. The Awareness Integration Model has been researched and published with many groups, and the latest research we did with Cal State Long Beach students that resulted in 68% decrease in depression and 25% decrease in anxiety, and that was even in a self-study format. And the book Life Reset is actually that. It takes you through the exercises so that you can gain the knowledge in how to create the life you want, and have actually the way of assessing how and what it's not working in life, and what it is that's not working in your thought process, your emotions, your behaviors, and the way that it impacts your life and everybody else, and to have a chance to shift simultaneously in your life every day to create and actualize the intention that you actually have. So if you like to go ahead and get the book, you can go to my website, Foojan.com, F as in Frank, OOJAN.com. If you'd like to consult with me, I've been a psychotherapist for 27 years and a life coach, and I have an office in Irvine, Woodland Hills, and Brentwood, and I also do life coaching online anywhere in the world, and you can also, again, contact me through my website, Foojan.com. I want to tell you about the latest research that came out August 30th, 2017, that was published in American Society of Anesthesiologists. In this research, it says millennials prefer healthy habits, less likely to choose opiates to manage pain. That's interesting. Survey finds that millennials regret opiate use, lack knowledge on proper disposal. It was a different kind of a research and a survey that they did, because Generation X did not have the same experience. They actually used opiates and they were fine with it, and they were using it and they had no regrets. But it was interesting that the millennials are starting to have that. The summary of the research was that often spending their days launched over phones, tablets, or computers, and their free time at spin class or playing sports, millennials are the next generation poised to experience chronic pain. Even at their young age, millennials say acute and chronic pain are already interfering with their quality of life. But it's encouraging that millennials see the value of opting for safer and more often more effective methods of managing their pain. But clearly they are in need of further education, because one thing that he was saying in this research is that just as experimentation, they might go towards some of these drugs and then for that to become habit producing, while they are also choosing and are more aware of wanting another type of lifestyle. So talking about different types of lifestyle and creating positive addiction, which appears that millennials are really into, I will talk to Dr. Joan Neehall. She's a co-author with Dr. Jeffery Zeig, who's a founder and director of the Milton Erickson Foundation. the book called The Habit of Happy Life. "30 Days to a Positive Addiction." So we're going to talk to her to find out what positive addiction means and how come they created a book that says The Habit of Happy Life and then it has addiction in the name. I'm really intrigued. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Dr. Neehall is a certified clinical psychologist with a specialization in forensic psychology, a graduate of University of Toronto, Canada, specializing in forensic assessment, cognitive behavioral therapy, brief strategic therapy, and hypnotherapy. She has over 30 years of professional experience as a forensic and clinical working individual and couples therapy. She's an author of Perfecting Your Private Practice, Suggestion and Strategies for Psychologists. Hello, Dr. Neehall.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How is it going in Canada?
Really well, thanks.
I've known Dr. Zeig for many, many years, and it's such a pleasure to get to meet you on the radio today.
My pleasure as well.
So, may I call you Joan?
Oh, please do.
Okay. Now, Joan, this book offers a blueprint for achieving a happier, healthier, more fulfilling lifestyle. And as it says in there, is at the center of the foundation of a positive addiction. So tell me, what does addiction mean in this format, in this book?
Well, I think we can go back to Coombe and Simon in 2009. They defined addiction as being a preoccupation or anticipation followed by loss of control in limiting intake and negative feelings during withdrawal. Now, as we were saying before, the word addiction has very negative connotations because a person feels compelled to do or to behave in a way that is deleterious to their personal lives, professional lives, interpersonal relationships, and so on. So what are we talking about in this book? It's based on Glasser's 1974 book on positive addictions, in which he defined a positive addiction as having 6 criteria. It should be non-competitive. It can be accomplished in approximately 1 hour a day. It's possible to do it with little effort. Doesn't take a lot of mental effort. It's of value according to the person who chooses it. The person who maintains it will notice improvement, but there is no competitiveness to it. It is totally subjective. And self-acceptance is crucial to the process. So there is Glasser in a nutshell talking about what he construes as a positive addiction. Now, Jeffery Zeig and I changed it in the sense that our book does the following. We link it on Byrne, Eric Byrne, whom you might know. On
yes.
Byrne talks about transactional analysis and the parent, the adult, and the child. In other words, whatever we do, if we're going to pick a positive addiction, or a habit, if you will, Foojan, like running or going to the gym or learning chess, it should be picked from all 3 ego states. When you connect parental advice, say a person who says he remembers his parents saying, "Eat your greens." Adult information, well, it's good for me to get into shape, so maybe I should go to the gym and do some healthy eating. And the childlike enthusiasm of, hey, I can't wait to get this done. Then we have a recipe for success, provided it's done with balance. Otherwise, your life is out of kilter once more. We don't want that. Now, in addition to linking it to Byrne and transactional analysis, we've also taken stock of what Maslow talked about way back in 1943. Maslow was talking about the human need, a basic need we all have, to be happy. Now, we used Tony Robbins' model for happiness and looked at his needs, such as the need for certainty, which makes us happy. In other words, being assured that you will have pleasure. Uncertainty, the need for the unknown and challenge. Significance, like feeling that you are unique, important, special, or needed. Connection and love, which we all need, a need for closeness or union with someone or something. Growth and contribution, knowing that what you're doing is of significance. So look, if you met these needs, then you'll be happy. So how does that link to addiction? Well, I think that dysfunctional addictions reflect in part an inability to consistently meet the 6 basic needs I just identified. So then what do? We fail, we settle for comfort, or meeting our needs on a small scale. As for example, with a negative addiction, I've had a hard day, so I'll just light up a cigarette. Now that's a benign negative addiction, but there is an instant reward, or so you think. How can we get that reward in a positive way with a positive addiction? Well, I think of endorphins and I think of a runner's high. I think of the good feelings that you'll feel after you've worked out. You can think in terms of short-term goals. I want to have less stress in my life, so I'm going to go work out immediately after I finished my job shift. And long-term goals, I want to build muscle mass. I want to have a stronger bone density, shall we say, whatever it is. So we've got long-term and short-term goals working together for Jen. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Now I'm looking at an area about myself. So can you work on me, Dr. Neehall? We just talked about exercise. Now exercising is something that as you created the states of parent, adult, and child, my child just does not like it. My adult understands it. My parent forces me to move around, but my child just doesn't like it. And what I do is I force myself to get a coach and get a trainer, and I go along for about 2 to 3 years. And then I'm like, I can do this. I don't like to do this anymore with a coach. I can handle it. And then I'll handle it for about a week and I get out. So it's interesting that one aspect of my life that I really need, want, and like it to become a positive addiction, it has not happened for 30 years. And I bargain with it and I work with it in different versions and it just doesn't. So I'm going to utilize your beautiful book and the way you're talking to me. And I'm sure that a lot of our listeners can relate to one area of their life that they could really focus on, which they would like to create a positive addiction on. And maybe they're having a struggle because, as you say, one of these states, ego states of child, adult, or parent are not working together. So what would your suggestion be to me? What will we be looking at?
Because that links to what I call the fitting room. We want to tailor and utilize your strengths. Tailor them to what is good for you. So the first thing I would do would be to park you in my fitting room. Let's pretend it's a dress rehearsal. Let's pretend we're getting you tailored in a wonderful suit, say for your live TV show or just to go out. Who knows? You put that dress on and look in front of the mirror. In other words, look in front of the mirror, the child. How does the child fit into that change that you want to create? Look at it in a mirror. Look at the gestures on your face as you say the child is the one who is protesting and saying, I don't want this. Let's listen to the child. Let's hear what the child might prefer to do to tailor it. Because we know that you have the ability. You've also got the wherewithal to hire someone to help you. But let's just listen to the child for a moment. And if you don't mind, Foojan, just for a moment, visualize what that might look like. How does she look? What are her gestures like? Does she have crossed arms? Is she frowning? Tell me what's going on, please.
There's a frown with the corner of my lips coming down as like a disappointment, and a sense of kind of like a powerlessness about why can't I have my cake and eat it too? Why can't I eat what I like to eat and not do those boring stuff and still look good?
And the child is saying all or nothing, and I'm going to stamp and pout and make your life hell until you listen to me. And I'll self-sabotage. I'll do something to make sure you don't follow through. Correct?
And if bottom line is, if you don't listen to me, I'll just do a powerless, act for you, and just don't want to do it. And I will fix my face so it's pretty enough, but I won't do it I'll bargain with you. I'll bargain with you where I could have the face, but I just want to eat whatever I want to eat, and I don't want to make any other gestures. I want it to be effortless. And it used to be effortless when I was a child, so this is obviously an adult problem, because when I was a child, this was all effortless.
It was when you were a child, and now that you're an adult, the adult is saying this is good for you, and the child is saying no.
Yeah.
How would it be for you to talk to that child, sculpt that child in such a way, going back to how that child used to be, and utilize the child's resources? Because I hear the child saying, I want to be heard. I want you to respect me. I want you to pay attention to me. You use the word powerless. So how would it be for you to give that little girl power right now to decide how she wants the change or changes to occur? Because you said two things. You talked about exercise, you talked about food. How would it be for that little girl to be able to orchestrate the change in ways in which she is satisfied, in ways in which she feels empowered and pretty, not stomped on or bullied?
Well, Joan, it has to be fun. If it's not fun.
Point. What would be the little child's fun in this whole process?
Yeah, it has to be
because
maybe a play.
The child wants to play.
Yeah.
Can we play in the gym? Do we have to do such terribly difficult things like getting a coach? Can we not just do it for 15 minutes and be okay with that? Can we not just have some salad? Do we have to do everything right away? The child isn't going to like it, nor will you. You're saying to me, I want fun. So how do we have fun? Help me.
Fun can be to schedule it, so I'll do it with somebody else, even if it's not a coach, but that a fun friend or my mate or somebody that we could create some sort of a dialogue, do some play, do some sports, so that it's it creates fun, versus that it has to be that I get on a treadmill for 20 minutes and watch the news while I do that, and then go around doing it, doing all the muscles on the machines. So that's just not fun. So I got to create fun.
We need fun. We need motivation. We need to make sure that little girl is feeling she's ready, she's willing, and able to change. And I liked what you just said, because you're talking about connection, which Robbins talks about as very important for happiness. Mm-hmm. So you connect with mate, you've got some couple time going on in there. You've got some time, say, with a friend going on if you decide to go for a walk first thing in the morning with a girlfriend or whoever. Again, the child is having fun, is she not? I get to do it versus, I have to do it. What a drag. I'm not going to.
Yes. So, Joan, is the roadblocks that you talk about in the book, are these the roadblocks, such as one of the states does not want to do it and they're not connected, and that's what becomes a sabotaging concept, where one part of you really wants to do something and the other part just does not cooperate?
There's several roadblocks. Yeah, that's one. So the first step, I think, was brilliant. What you just did was to identify the child voice saying, no, I don't want to do this. Well, how do we get choice in there? How do we make it playful? How do we make it fun? And we just limited the variables, correct?
Yes.
But we could do it for 15 minutes. We could have a play date with my girlfriend. We go for a walk. I can connect with my husband. I get to do these things. This is exciting, correct?
Yes.
But there are other roadblocks that we need to look at, I think. For example, labeling. I had a patient who said to me, you know what, I want to lose X amount of weight. I want to lose 10 pounds. But I feel like a failure because when I go home, I eat the M&Ms, and then my husband looks at me, and I feel so bad. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is she doing? She's labeling herself as a failure because she was not able to follow through. Now, labeling is something that we need to be very careful that we not do to each other, because in doing that, you self-sabotage, correct?
Yes.
I failed. Well, this time the system didn't work. I'm wondering if we should go back to the drawing board and sort out a different way to go about this puzzle. See? Or I should not have versus, okay, this is my choice for today, and I will do a little bit today, and tomorrow I'll do a little bit more, versus the rigid, perfectionistic, all-or-nothing thinking that causes us to procrastinate. I can't do it. If I can't do it well, I won't do it at all, correct? Or I don't really have many strengths, but watch me, I've got so many weaknesses.
So the concept of me getting a trainer for 3 years, thinking that I'm going to do this every day, and then I don't, and then I tell myself, see, you can never do it on your own. You always have to have a trainer. You're saying that it's unnecessary to put yourself into that labeling position. And the point is that if you have a structure, to keep going back to the structure that works for you, and even if you don't, and if you're not that perfect, to be okay for that day, and then go back to the structure again of the habit that you're trying to create.
And another thing we do in our book that's really very, very useful, I think, is the whole notion of go back and tell me why you can do it. Yes, I can exercise without a coach because here are some facts. I live close to a gym because. Or I have a social network, therefore I know I can do this. I've got a community of followers. I've got friends who will root for me. I can even join a running group if I wanted.
So it's all the options.
I can do it because personality traits that say I can do it. I'm determined. I did get a PhD. I'm a life coach. I'm talking like you. And I mean, I write books. I conduct myself with discipline when I do my radio talk shows, as I am right now. And I can do these things. I'm organized. I am disciplined. So notice what you're doing. You're going into an I can model based on historical data, personal data, contextual data, and so we go on in our book. This is just a little taste of what we have to offer in our book, and it's like talking to a good friend, like you and I just talking to each other and teasing out how to custom make it so it works. Another thing we do, Foojan, is not tell you what you should and shouldn't do, like the little girl saying, well, no, I don't want to do this, but rather, can we look at the pain underlying it all? Can we look at what's going on underneath that stops you from, say, surfing the internet, shopping too much, racking up credit cards, not going to the gym? What's underlying that? Because people have a tendency to tell us what we want to hear, and it's usually very positive. We have a tendency to practice denial and avoid looking at what's underlying the negative habit, for want of a better word. Can we change that? Would that not help?
It would certainly help. We're talking to Dr. Joan Neehall, the co-author of The Habit of Happy Life, 30 Days to a Positive Addiction, and you can find the book. It's actually coming out January, right? January 8th.
Under the 12th, actually, it comes out.
January 12th.
We're looking at the evolution of psychotherapy, but you are right. Right, it is going to be out in January, but people can buy it ahead of time.
Okay, January 12th from the website positiveaddiction.com. You can actually pre-order it from now, positiveaddiction.com. So now, Joan, it also comes about the readiness. I worked with addiction for about 25 years now. And it seems, and I remember I used to smoke cigarette for almost 20 years. So it's very interesting that experiencing myself and experiencing my clients, a lot of times people start getting ready by having some ideas. I mean, there were times like, I don't care, I'm going to smoke cigarette until I die, and doesn't matter if I die. So I wasn't ready. Then there were times that I would entertain the idea of quitting and being healthy, but then it came to a place that I was ready to do something, and from the day that I was ready, I had my own challenges. And I also see this with a lot of the clients that I work with, where they might come to my office because a wife, a husband, a parent has brought them, because it no longer works for everybody else, but for the person who is having that negative addiction, it's still working and they're not ready. So as you're working with a client, and as the book promises about 30 days to a positive addiction, how do you get someone that is ready, or someone who's not ready?
Let's go back to that, if we can. You know, we talk about motivation involving the ability to be aware of personal goals, to recognize discrepancies between current behaviors and desired ideals, and to resolve ambivalence about making positive changes. So that's motivation. So if we look at that, we're talking basically about knowledge and desire. Question with readiness is, I use the acronym Foojan of RAW: ready, able, and willing. And if you don't have those three variables in place, you're not really ready, are you? Mm-hmm. You could work with your client from now till eternity, perhaps, on getting them ready. But if it's externally reinforced, i.e. someone sends them to you, chances are they're not going to change. Sometimes they're ready, but they don't have the physical ability to do it. Well, what about that? Then it can't work. They could be ready, but not willing to. So you see what I'm getting at, that you have to make sure that those three things are in place. Now, readiness is an interesting phenomenon from my perspective, because I get people coming in to talk to me as well about this. Are they ready to change? And the question is, you know, there are different times when people are ready. I think of a woman who is about to play golf, and she practices that swing quite a few times before she does it. Now, she's ready. I think of Muhammad Ali, who said, you know, I have to work hard at this, and to survive and to be a success, I need to do it now. So there's another form of readiness. You know, the Chinese proverb that says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Readiness. You and I are in a forest walking together, and suddenly we see the fox coming towards us. Well, I think our readiness state will be rather rapid, right? Mm-hmm. So you have stages of readiness that one has to look at, and also willingness. But Foojan, what about some environmental variables over which we have no, or sense of having no control? You're ready to stop smoking. You've just discovered that your father is suffering from terminal cancer. Mm-hmm. Are you willing? You know what I'm saying? Is this a good time for you to be quitting or breaking free?
There are a lot of motivational stimulus that can be out there, yes. So what you're saying is that you look at what's going on in the person's life, and look at some of the triggers that can be there, or the stimulus that can be there, that could support the person to become ready. So one would be for them to know that they can and they're able, and maybe to practice their ability until they're confident that they have the ability. And then when it comes to the willingness to look at what could inspire them to be ready now, to be willing to take on action now versus postponing it to tomorrow and the next day. And sometimes those triggers can be a painful experience, or the fear of a painful experience, which will come in front of us and motivates us to move away from that pain, or some type of a stimuli that promises some source of a pleasure, it seems, and those might be some motivating factors.
Correct. And that's a great summary of exactly what it is. And if you don't get those things in place, then the person might say to you and genuinely mean that they're ready, and they aren't. And you don't want them to get a taste of failure. And that's something else I wanted to mention to you. That our book actually inoculates you against failure, because we take you through steps, and each step is guaranteed to leave you as a winner. Because if you say to me that you can't exercise today, that's okay too. Let's go to tomorrow. Let's see, you've been struck down with the flu, and you said you were going to work out every day for 30 minutes. Well, that's not going to happen. Is that okay? Yes. You're on a plane like Jeffery Zeig is, going, say, to Asia to teach. Well, he can't exercise for 365 days of the year, and that's still okay. So in this way, incrementally, we build into the system the different things that might want you to give up. Like the child who said to you, no, I'm not going to. And we deal with those in the system way before you start the 30 days. We go through each of these with easy exercises that you go through, so you get to know a little bit more about yourself, and you emerge a winner. 30 days to instill it so that you have procedural working memory, so it becomes automatic after 30 days. It's like brushing your teeth. And yes, you will have withdrawal. You will feel sluggish if you don't exercise, if you've been doing it consistently, even for 15 minutes. It's a different mindset.
Joan, the 30 days is set after the assessment is done, after the readiness is assessed and the person knows that they're ready and willing, and I'm assuming after the structure is created, because there has to be a structure, even if it's not a daily structure, but it appears to be a kind of a structure that creates the habit for 30 days, right?
Brilliant. And what I'm talking about there that's really very exciting is we say to people, please don't give up after day 2. So keep on at it. So that the first portion of the book, our text is basically on getting you ready. It's like becoming a marathon runner. Let's plan for it. Let's get you to eat in a certain way. Let's get you to think in a certain way. Let's do it incrementally. At the end, you have a blueprint for success that is personally yours. It's no one else's, because you have filled out our exercises. You have created it. And we also take note of people who are quick readers, who want to skim everything and go to the very end and start. People who say, well, saw 30 days for a lark. I want to start at day 30 and move my way backwards. They can do it however they wish, but they'll get it done.
So I have a trick question. I know.
Hear it.
I know that some programs, they say, well, if you did 5 days and you didn't go through the structure, you have to start again from the beginning of the 30 days, and you have to do another 30 days for this kind of like a neurological pattern to be fixated in you, and it becomes part of who you are. Is that the same structure, that if you've continued to do something for so many days but then you dropped it, that you have to do another 30 days just because of that? Or is it that more what you mean by 30 days, it's more of an understanding that even if you drop it one day, that you really have to take on the system? And so is the 30-day really literal 30-day, or is it an expandable 30-day?
Like the wasteland. Anyway, let's just get into this. I think that's a brilliant question you just asked, because when we're talking about 30 days, this is not a program like Preparation H, or this diet that a celebrity will say to you, well, let's do this, let's do a fad diet, let's just do a purge or a cleanse and then you'll get better.
I love the Preparation H. Out of all the things you could have chosen, that's awesome.
They need that like they need a hemorrhoidectomy. So we're not using a formula. We're saying, let's make a system that works for you, and let's make it flowing. That reminds me, what's exciting? I was doing some research on motivation. Foojan, did you realize that motivation has a very fluid component to it? So that it changes, so the person can be motivated and they change according to their needs. And that's very important for this book. We also link this book onto neuroscience, which, Glasser didn't know about in those days. But, the influence of dopamine means if I stop, I'm going to feel sluggish. It'll be a case of a patient saying to me recently, my husband says when I don't work out, where did you park your broom? And I said to her, that's not very nice.
Mm-hmm. But it's very true.
What I'm getting at there is the rush of dopamine, the feelings, the good feelings that are there will occur in day 1, day 2, day 3, whichever day you wish, because you will be also adding to it your own self-talk, your own self-appraisal. Remember, it's not competitive with anyone but yourself. So you're starting to feel, I'm in control of my life. Say, for example, a person who feels that she's got a robust body and she just wants to eat in a healthy way. Now, she can't really go to celebrity culture for a role model, can she?
Right.
It just doesn't exist. And also, if you look at social comparison, you know, in the past, humans compared to other humans. Now our social comparators are basically celebrities. And 60% of our population, at least, is overweight.
Yes. Something just
so
popped
you think
in.
of statistics, and is it really that bad to overeat when you consider that it could be hardwired into our systems? Our ancestors had to eat as much as they could because they didn't know when the next meal was coming.
Yes.
And they had to rest before they moved again.
Yes.
So people who are sedentary, what about that? Is that part of the hardwiring of our system that perhaps we need to take into consideration and tweak? Our book talks about that as well, by the way.
Joan, this I think what I'm thinking about is also that there's two types of motivation, where one is required for reaching something, but maybe another for maintaining. Because I've gone through this aspect where I got motivated to, for example, lose weight or create a very nice body for a particular event or part of my life or things that I had to do. And as I reached it, I felt that I achieved something, and then the maintenance part, for a while it worked, but then it started moving away, because the same thing that motivated me to reach it was not enough to motivate me any longer to maintain it, because the same thing was no longer in the future for me to hold on to. So I had to go back to another type of a motivation for maintenance. Does your book talk about that and how to shift, as you said, about the motivation being fluid?
Yes, because I think that's that's an important point that you just raised, because it brings up 2 points for me right now. The first one is, have you looked at New Year's resolutions and how gym memberships escalate at the beginning of the year, and then the attendance is not there?
Yeah.
People don't follow through, do they? Because they haven't thought about it very carefully. And then two, if it's a habit, then it's not like a diet in which you go to Weight Watchers. No offense to Weight Watchers or any dieting program, please. But what I'm talking about is a habit of healthy eating is a far cry from getting on the scale or checking your muscle mass. We're talking more about performance. We're talking about feeling good about yourself inside and outside. So it's not a case of maintenance. It's rather, it goes from procedural to working memory to becoming automatic. So you just do it. For instance, myself, I go to the gym. I work out every day. I'm a runner. I might run in the morning. I might run immediately after work. Usually if I'm on vacation, it'll be in the morning. After work, that's when I go to the gym and I work out. My system is used to that. I'm not thinking in terms of maintenance. It's a habit I have cultivated as a way of stress release more than anything else.
So another way of looking at it is not as a habit or an action that you're always reaching, but it is something that it becomes part of your life, such as waking up in the morning, taking a shower, brushing your teeth or washing your face, all of that. It becomes such a routine as a part of who you are that it's automatic. So we're taking something, creating readiness for it, the ability, the willingness, the motivation is there, the structure is there. You create that with all of your ego states of child, adult, and parent, to bring it together, and they're all aligned. And you do that in 30 days so that you feel so satisfied and fulfilled that it automatically, your system yearns for it to be there on an automatic level, and then it posts it as an automatic level. One thing that you say in your book is research shows that just as negative addiction usually becomes the North Star for a person's life, causing shame, isolation, and loss of control, a positive addiction can become the North Star that points in a different direction, toward a greater peace, fulfillment, and optimization. And in only 30 days, that can be a part of your system, where the system has it as if it's natural. This is part of the natural state that the system yearns and operates. And that's where it becomes also effortless. I'm talking to my own child. Listen, this can really become effortless.
Well, I think you need to tell your child, too, that implicit to this is pleasure.
Yes.
The child wants to eat. The child wants to have fun. The idea with all of this is that it is pleasurable. Believe me, I get to go to the gym. I get to tune out. I get to eat healthy. I get to feel good about what I'm eating.
Mm-hmm.
I choose these things. I choose to fill my mind with certain bits and pieces of books. Again, these are my choices. You know, I think of the alcoholic. It was labeled somewhere in the literature. Do you remember that alcoholic who became a monk and ran through the forest chanting? And that was his way of getting rid of a negative addiction. So just like you have a compulsion and a drivenness and a preoccupation and anticipation with a negative addiction, the same is true for a positive addiction. I get to do this. It's so exciting.
Mm-hmm. So positiveaddiction.com, everyone. The book will be out in January 12th in the market. However, you can pre-order the Positive Addiction book. It's called The Habit of Happy Life, 30 Days to a Positive Addiction by Dr. Joan Neehall and Dr. Jeffery Zeig. But you can definitely order it now on positiveaddiction.com. Joan, would that also be an audio or just the book at this point?
Good question. It's going to be on ebooks as well.
Ebooks as well. Perfect.
I don't know if we've done audio yet, but I might be sitting to be corrected. I have not discussed that with Jeff.
Yeah, I've noticed my book is also just written, is not on audio, but because mine is a lot of exercises, it needed to also just be in a book. But I've noticed that myself, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I know many of my readers have also requested for audio.
Thank you, Jen. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's a very good point. But an audiobook would be good, because if I'm traveling long distances, if I'm driving, say, for 3 hours, it's nice to listen to a book. Mine is usually Rumple, the barrister.
Yes. So talking about addiction, addiction also becomes a neurological space where, there's a trigger, and then the trigger holds you in a space where you almost become split. And I've worked with a lot of addiction where one part of you is really dedicated, willing, and gives conversation toward wanting a healthier lifestyle, while side by side the other part of you just does whatever it needs to do. Sometimes you're so split that one almost like as if it doesn't know about the other one. And do you, when we're talking about the same dynamic in a positive addiction, it's a different dynamic because it's based on pleasure and all of the parts uniting in creating this, then you don't sense the sense of the split that happens in a negative addiction. You have a unity in the system that operates and creates this for someone.
Correct, and you're seeing the world and seeing yourself through the eyes of the heart. So there's the emotional component to it, in which you feel really good about yourself as you incrementally make these changes, the operative word being slowly. Doesn't necessarily mean it'll take 30 days. For some people, it could be 21 days to establish a positive addiction. Philippa Lally has found that it takes about 66 days in her studies in the UK. The rule of thumb is 30 days and then another 30 to have it really automatic. And it does happen for people. Jeffrey has found it in his work, and I have as well. Because it's not either or thinking, it's both and. We take your skeptical side, for example. I've had people sculpt their skeptical side for me, and they've taken photos of it, and I've given it to them to take a look at how their bodies look when they're being skeptical and when they're being open to the possibility. And that also helps, and you might want to think of that as well, because there could be a part of you that's saying, yes, but, I've tried everything, why would this work?
Mm-hmm. And how do you see the distinction between habit and addiction? Because you have both words. You have the word habit.
Almost anonymously in the book. Okay. I do. Because addiction, as we started off this afternoon, or for you this morning, talking, it has a negative connotation when you think of the word addiction, especially our millennials, they don't like that word. So that's how the word evolved. At one point we were thinking of calling the book Rewiring Your Life. Jeffrey liked the idea of 30 days to a positive addiction. In fact, that was his choice of title of the book. And then we refined it to call Habit of a Happy Life. I also like the word habit because my background is Catholic, way back when, in my own origins. And you remember in the good days, nuns wore habits.
Yeah.
So the habit of a happy life, it's just your uniform. You put it on and you be that way. And that's the end of it. There's no discussion. It's just automatic.
Oh, I love that. It's like a role you take on.
And I tell people I'll have none of it.
Well, I see that. It's like you have a role that the role has created an automatic setup. Like you and I go into an office. Like I'm a radio host. So when I'm here, it's a different role. When I go into my office as a psychotherapist or a coach, I become someone else, which is Foojan is still there. However, they are a certain parameter where I go into that space and the role, and that's where I come from. That the space is for my client, is for accepting them, loving them, looking at what works for them, having this heartfelt, active listening for them, looking at where it is that they can, their strengths are, and where is it their vulnerabilities, and where is it that sometimes my style is a little bit, might be confrontational, where is it that it works for them if that kind of a confrontation is made, which is very different than maybe who I am, as a radio host, or I am as a mate, or a daughter of somebody, or a friend, where I would the core beliefs are still the same, but within a role I operate a particular way or not. And I'm hearing you say that if we look at it as the addiction part, the positive addiction part, as a particular role, then I can just fit into that role, and that role holds the automatic structure where it can just take me. And that actually happens in addiction too. I mean, I've worked with a lot of people where they say the minute the trigger happens or the craving happens and I give into it, I become another human being. That is it's different from who I am. And what I'm hearing from you is that can exactly be done also with the positive addiction, where we create the structure of all of it with the emotions and behaviors and the thought and all of that. And then after a while, it just becomes an automatic role. I walk in and I'm in it.
Correct. It's as easy as that, and as pleasurable as that.
Yes.
Tell me, after you've worked out, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm. I feel a sense of achievement more than anything. The word pleasure doesn't show up for me still with exercise. I don't like body pain. I don't like physical pain. The dopamine doesn't do the same thing for me when I do exercise. But I do get a sense of achievement, like I've done something that's good for me. So I think that by itself is pleasurable, like me having that meaning and having that essence in my body of, okay, although my body's tired and I'm in pain, I still feel an achievement, and the pain is a good pain, so it's like reframing those things for myself so that I would create pleasure out of it. I think that's...
And stress release is also pleasurable, to have that stress out of the distress that you might hold within you as a therapist, to just get rid of it, release it, could be quite good too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm also thinking, as you wear your habit, you're actually habituating to a new way of being with yourself, whereby it's just automatic that you do it because it's fun.
Yes.
Because you feel you're in control, like the little girl who wants control.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a random thought.
No, it's true. It's very true. So,
you remember what Einstein said?
What?
Einstein said, any fool can know The point is to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. It has been a pleasure to have you on my show, and I've learned a lot from you. I always learn so much from Dr. Zeig, and I'm looking forward to also having him on my show to also hear him talk from his perspective about the book. I know that when two people come together and create something beautiful together, that each one of them has a jewel, just a lot of information that they've brought in. So it'd be amazing to also hear from him about the book. But thank you for giving me this time, and hopefully I get to meet you soon.
I hope so. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Foojan.
Thank you. Again, Dr. Dr. Joan Neehall, and Dr. Jeffery Zeig, co-authors of The Habit of Happy Life, 30 Days to a Positive Addiction. You can pre-order the book at www.positiveaddiction.com. And I hope you enjoyed the show and that you would be with us every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Create a wonderful, wonderful day, week, and a life for yourself. Take care.
You're listening to The Inner Voice with Dr. Foojan Zeine, only on LA Talk Radio.